And so,
Hello.
hi, welcome to DevKami
Hello, everyone.
number 148. My name is Swimming.
I am Tristan.
And I'm Chileong.
Yes, if you notice, I had an arm now, and some of you guys know how the head works. It's actually a G clamp on the desk. Then I had another clamp from the
I need to show off my stuff as well because Swimming is showing off his stuff.
Can I show this? I hope it's not too long, but I can't. It's too my camera is too short. Oh yeah, it's really long. Ta-da! So it's a clamp within the clamp. Conception. Oh, and my camera just off. My camera had been removed. No big. I just reconnect it. So yeah. So what's up with you guys?
No, nothing much for me. Chilo?
Same old.
Yes. So with that said, since we have nothing happening, let's go on let's do our usual thing. I should speed this up and share a window. Actually, there'll be a few interesting things happening soon. For example, this I will go through that, but once at a time. So next week, actually it's this weekend, we have Barcamp Cyberjaya.
Are they doing it online or do you have to attend physically?
It's an online event. They're going to do it on Gather Town. And there's a Discord channel. We figure out to get the town later. I do not know how to get in yet. I submitted a session, but unfortunately, there's not many.
What's the Discord is gonna be about? Do you have the link of the Discord?
Yeah, the Discord is actually it's here. It's called Barcamp Cyberjaya.
Are they doing this multiple rooms?
They're doing multiple rooms, and here's how they do it. So this is essentially the Gather Town. There are 3 rooms, multiple slot, and there's an actual layout, but I do not know how they do. I don't think they can show it, but there's actual layout.
This is happening this weekend, right?
Correct.
Why are their sponsor slots still not filled in? Still placeholders.
I do not know. I don't think they need it anymore because it's an online event and can just simply do it because Gather Town and Discord are not expensive. So either way, the top topic currently is a mixed bag, which is not a bad thing. So for example, there's a music in film and video games. Then somebody is talking about Harmony OS. Investing. I don't like this kind of topic, so I definitely will skip it. Depression. I hope this is good, but let's see. I don't. Again.
Are they recording each of the rooms?
I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. Then John is not submitted. Then submitted. I hope this is interesting as well. Then they've set up. So it's a mixed bag. To be honest, it's a mixed bag. Some I think is a bit weird in a way that they do talk about some topic that I don't really like because something is interesting. Most of the time is meh. So I submitted a talk, hardware hacking in easy mode. It's not on the voted list, so maybe I'm not going to present. So yeah, and also supposedly I have a demo device coming, but I do not think it will be on time. So yeah. So
but have you received your slot? You haven't received your slot yet.
No, I do not believe my slot is selected. Because if you look at the list, mine is not even anywhere near. So yeah, I have a device. So yeah, you guys know how I hacked in with the M5 stack and all that. How we make things easy. Yeah, hardware hacking in easy mode. So this is the topic. So with that being said, then have you guys done your Ruby meetup?
No, this is October 5th. So
Yeah.
this is next week. So we haven't done it yet.
Okay, so there's a Ruby
What are you
meetup.
asking?
But I think you're gonna. I think whether you like is the Ruby app still
Ah,
active?
the link. No, not yet, not yet. I think they're still
But it will
setting it up.
happen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's always happening. But I think this
yes.
week we're just doing a code clinic instead of
Ah,
presentations.
okay.
So it's like come present your issue and then we pair program or like we mock program the thing of your issue and
Cool.
it will just help. So if you
Cool.
have if you have questions, for example, on what you were asking backstage about
Yeah.
notifications, then we can just go help out
Yeah.
and
But
then you can show those stuff.
I have an idea how now. So that one is a pure. Yeah, I have an idea how. So
Yeah, it's
yep.
always good to like for code clinics, it's always good to have like other people take a look because you usually would have like this narrow thinking because you're very familiar with the problem, right? But with someone
Yeah.
else, it's a fresh take on the problem. So anyone else who wants to come for code clinics, even if you're not doing Ruby, then come for Tuesdays, Ruby Tuesday code clinic.
Yeah. So go for the detail. It's an interesting event. So and that's about the event next week, this week and next week. So let's talk about our bus corner. So the first one, this actually initiative, it's not Hussein, but I think it's Hussein and
It's the
friend.
same.
I think it's Hussein, but what I do not know is whether Hussein and friend. That's the
Yeah.
question.
Hussein and friends.
So this is a Malaysian focused artificial intelligence repository. It's a real deal in a way that there's actual model. There's actual models that, and actually, if you do actual work, you can prove that you do actual work. Uh, you get to use a GPU model, as you can see here. So you can, but you have to actually do the work lah. But if you do the work, you get the resource, which is awesome. So you want to contribute for Malaysian focus uh, deep learning project. Here's the opportunity. You'll be given resource. So I know I do not know the barrier, but if you're interested to join them, and because put it this way, they are our friends, so please don't abuse the resource. So that's all.
But how can you help if you want to join? Like let's say someone wants to join. Like what do they need help
Improve the
with?
model. Okay, so let me go to that. So the big idea here is to uh, get people to assist in these models, test it. If you can, so this model is usable. Maybe build your own application and test it. Uh, Build your model and test it to see how it works. Improve the model.
If you I think
Yeah,
if you are really serious about this, I think you can contact Hussein to add
yeah,
you up
correct,
to the team. I think they have some hardware resources as well.
correct. So as you see, they are providing all the resource for people that want to help. So yeah, uh, go and join them. Once I put up the site, you know what? I may put up a whole set of link later. Depends on my work, but yeah. So yeah, Malaysian AI, join them. Anything else you want to know? If not, I'm going to move on.
No?
I'm going to move on. So this is the big one, and there's a plot twist, and here goes. There's a data leak somewhere from IRB, or we call it a HDN, through an API made to My Identity. My Identity is a national data shared platform for public sector. In this case, is for identity. So there's a data leak on ICs and all that, and it's around 5,000 ringgit to actually 0.2 Bitcoin. But here's the plot twist. What happened also is somebody actually tested the IC and all that, it the leak may not be, there may be a leak, but it may not be full. It's a full leak. So yeah, but this actually happens, and actually it's bad in a way. If it really does happen, then the IC, then you can't change your IC. That's, to be honest, there's no such plan for that. So you're pretty much screwed actually. But one of the latest update is that people do test the IC and it's not real IC. So yeah, we may have dodged a bullet. And I used to work for a government contractor. Everybody know that. So security, people had a very different idea of security just now. So yeah. Anything you want to know? If not, we'll move on.
No, let's move on.
Yeah. So this is goes under interesting category. With your toning skill, which is through your makeup and all that, you have actually full face recognition system. So of course, one of the common members say, what if this thing have gun? So far, they don't use gun for this yet. So lens of makeup, you may actually defeat facial recognition. And if you look at the photo here in the link, can you actually see the link?
Yeah, we can see what you're sharing.
You can notice that we human actually gets it, but for machine learning system that do not get it at all. And the makeup is just, to us, just very simple. So yeah.
Yeah, but they look quite different though, or maybe I just don't understand what's.
It's different enough. It's different enough, but
yeah, but if I don't know, if I didn't know that they're supposed to be the same person, I would say they're different people. Like,
yeah,
they look quite different. Like, if
so
I
that's
didn't
the power
personally
of
know
makeup.
them, right? So that's the thing.
Yeah, but this is a power of makeup. Okay, fine. So you're arguing that even humans do not get it.
Well, at least I don't get it. So I like when I saw this article, like, yeah, makeup can change how people look like. I mean, sometimes I don't recognize some people because they suddenly change their usual makeup. So that's not, I don't know.
Yeah,
what
I
they're
have fun
saying.
recognizing that as well.
Like,
Okay.
if you didn't tell me that they're supposed to be the same person, I would say they're two different people. That they just happen to be like similar looking.
But on the other hand, the model is not a great model for the first place because it's like from 47% to 33%. So it's not a good model for the first place. So maybe there's a better one out there. So yeah, your learn to make up, you must save your face from facial recognition and hopefully not the one on your phone. Next one. So there's this new malware called Novelium. So this is actually so this one focus on credential theft. It's a malware. It's a type of malware that try to steal your credential. And yeah, so they use different way to do the. I didn't read this yet, to be honest. So this is talking about the technique and what they do what this malware do and how they get the information. How they do this is a thing called foggy web. I do not know it's foggy web. It's a backdoor. That's the only thing I know. So yeah, do they have update? I do not know yet, but the point is it's there, but this one, the target is on Active Directory. So if you're not on this, you're probably safe. But some of us that actually work in the corporate, not me, some people I used to work in the environment that work in corporate world. So yeah, you're pretty much screwed actually. Okay, I'm not screwed, but sooner or later they'll figure how to affect this. But yeah, so it's interesting. This one is interesting because I will tell you how does the attack work. So yeah. So next one is a bit more cheerful. Cloudflare introduced a service called R2 storage. It's not it had S3 compatibility, but there's a joke about R2D2, but let's not go there yet. It's very important. So this one actually is something like a CDN for S3 or something like that. Am I right or I'm wrong?
I don't know. I haven't actually go and read it.
Yeah. So what
Check
happened
it out.
is that actually,
I know people make fun of the name.
yeah, correct. So the name is a bit weird because it's S3. Then one step before is that S2.
Yeah.
So it's like R2. Like what? So either way, this service is S3 compatible, and what they promise is that reduce the cost of storage because they actually they bring the storage closer to the network instead of store S3. So in this case, closer to the CDN level. So your web worker can use it, and if you do have something on it that is closer to CDN, then you can actually use it on your web page more cheaper. So what they promise that 0.015 per gigabyte stored, so it's actually cheaper. To be honest, I didn't do how much S3 costs, but if they promise that, yeah, sure. I think this is a good alternative, and maybe again at the backstage I was saying that I'm beginning to write the bus corner series.
The difference is that from here is that you actually scroll at the right point is that there is a zero egress.
Yeah, zero egress. Whereas actually they do charge you a bit, right? Yeah. Also, I might try this. For the bus corner maker. What do you guys think about this?
I haven't got and have a look at it first.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
So-
another, it's one another dependency, I would
Yeah.
say, because now you
Yes.
have to use Cloudflare workers.
Correct.
So it's yet another, like,
Uh-huh.
that's the danger with the platform as a service, that you're tied with the
Correct.
platform. Like
Yes.
cloud functions, which cloud functions, they all are not easily convertible with other platforms' cloud
Correct.
functions. So
Yes. And also I think Cloudflare may be cornering market at one corner. So generally one of the things that Cloudflare do sell is about security, DDoS protection and all that. Problem is they're beginning to want to go into different area like email. That one have some extra detail. So I think they're beginning to do quite a bit more network are depending on them for services. So that's a bit of the scary part outside of the technology. I mean, even on technology, but this is more on technology business side. So one would hope that Cloudflare be more reliable, which is actually a bit scary on that side. So last one, Amazon had the managed service for Prometheus. So this one is a modular system. You got the query language for Prometheus and use it for alerts and all that. If you need it, it's available for all your services. And it's a good idea to have this because it make monitoring more powerful. You can actually redirect where your log goes and you can actually query the logs and whatnot. Anything you guys want to add on this?
Nope.
no.
No.
In case
Okay.
people don't know that what Prometheus is,
Yeah.
it's a way to collect metric from
Yeah.
it's what we call observability. I think these days as a name is for
Tracing.
telemetry and
observation.
observability.
Yes.
The app.
Well, why did they call it Prometheus?
Oh, the software package is called Prometheus. They provide
Why?
observability service.
Like there should be
Prometheus?
some connection to the, like, the Greek god. Was it the Greek? No,
Yeah.
Greek Titan.
It's a
Was it the
Titan.
Titan
Yeah.
that gave
Prometheus is the
humanity
Titan.
fire?
Yes.
I don't know. You might need to look at it.
So
What it's called.
Prometheus are the one that actually got. So Prometheus is a god of wisdom and not really.
If you-
wisdom, but close enough. wisdom and tools. So that and Prometheus are the one that create human by making clay, people out of clay. So as a result, Prometheus love human, but the Greek god do not actually like them, see that as abomination. As a result, Prometheus bring fire.
Okay.
You see, Prometheus bring fire to human. As a result, the Greek god do not like them.
Yeah, but what does it have to do with data collection?
It's the wisdom, because it's about wisdom.
Okay.
So yeah, because once you collect this observation, you have the wisdom to manage your. I suppose it's about getting wiser about your infrastructure.
Yeah, I would have called it something like a.
And if you have read the SIE workbook, some of the examples, the markup that they use are actually Prometheus actually modeled after that. I think because they are ex-Googler as well, they're involved in that original. It's but it's actually not something from external. It's actually internal. So you have to basically put it into this data point into your logic itself.
Yeah.
So you know what happened, and can have an early warning system whenever certain behavior doesn't fit what you think it is.
So, you know what? I am right about Prometheus. Prometheus is the god of fire, and also it's about forethought and afterthought. So it's partly about wisdom, and they're the one that actually create human.
Yeah.
And there's
I
still
think
fire.
one thing that is acknowledged is that as much as we like we want a perfect working system.
Yep, correct.
But we know that things doesn't work that way, as in there are a lot of factors. I mean not talking about being a noob, the code written by noobs but it's actually including like hardware failure, also certain things that we didn't foresee. So it's like you say, it's a early warning system.
Yeah.
But by itself, it doesn't do things. It's can be used as a combination with other tools to have an early warning system.
Correct.
Or to have an insight of how the service help it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Last time the traditional way is to just check the uptime of a service, but we know that uptime, if you just check for uptime, most of them are okay, but whether the service is performing is another matter.
Correct. But then those days, the application used to be more reliable and simple. Now we have more things to check. So even a simple health check is not enough now.
Especially when you have third-party dependencies.
Correct.
So Prometheus is actually very helpful in those things, like to check that is it the logic that went wrong, or is the database, or it is the I/O between the upstream server. I mean, with when you call the upstream API.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are many points of failure, and you need to at least consider all of them.
That's why I put out the disclaimer. Yeah. Somebody is gonna say that things can be. It's good for you if you think that things can be perfect. Good for you. But things we are working, as long as we interface with the real world, some things gonna fail.
Correct. Nowadays, software will fail.
Yeah, and the more servers you have, the more points of failure, because now you have more things.
It's not just limited to the code.
No,
it's the external world that is dangerous.
So what happened is one of the theory is you would use backend as a service or serverless or backend as a service, because there is no quote unquote.
Put it this way: early this year, in one of our server, we have memory corruption. Even though we are using ECC RAM.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, you can say like it won't happen, but it happens.
Yes. It's common. It happened more common than you thought, actually. Which I need to link to the video on solar, the cosmic ray, but that is a bit more out there. And nowadays, when you started outsourcing to other services. Well, now you're not worrying individual service, but you are worrying that whether the service can provide the service that you want, right? So you're just hoping that no bad DNS causing you unable to access Firebase. I hope. You know what I mean? So with that said, this is actually a good segue to the OWASP top 10 that we talked about last week. So let me summarize what is the top 10 in 2021. So the first one is broken access control, cryptographic failure, injection, insecure design. Insecure design is interesting. Never mind. Security misconfiguration.
I think injection was insecure design back then.
Yeah, correct. Then
Yeah.
identification, authentication, software data failure, logging failure, and server-side request forgery. So these are 10 of 2021. So anything you want to go on before I go to the individual one?
Yeah, let's go to the individual ones. Let's have
So I
fun.
already had the tab ready. So this is access control policy. So broken access control here really means about not just about who can. I mean, it's about who can.
Access
do
control
what.
that didn't work.
Yeah. So just that sometimes the system is so complicated, you just give access to everyone.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's about access control. So, but it's also very wide. It's not just about your role on AWS. It's also about how much a user can do.
I think that is why I'm not sure if you guys heard of it. There's a white paper from Google called Beyond Corp.
Yeah.
So the philosophy was that we treat our internal users, including developer, as an external user. So that when you design your API that way, you become like you can access just like me as an end user, I can only access what is already granted to me. There's no implicitness in like you're someone that is external, internal. So I'll give you free reign of everything.
Correct.
So
but
yeah,
That's just be paranoid about everything.
Yeah, that's
correct,
what we're doing as well. Try to be at least.
Yes, but in the early days, our access control model, quote unquote, is reasonably easy in a way that.
And also like something that we used to do often is that we only do the authentication when it's terminated at the end user side.
Correct.
So like when we access that internally, that is another system which like we have a God mode port or access.
Yeah.
Oh, is that still popular, like God mode in applications, or admin mode, or something like that? Or like maybe a separate, like a special instance of your application that has access to everything?
I think God mode is fine. It's just that the implicit God mode, like if, like let's say if I have external service, but that proxy my internal one. But when I access internally, like in the office, I have a God mode. I don't even need to log in. Something like that.
Yeah. So this one cover more than that. It's more than just. They also control what a user can do.
Yeah.
Then escalation. Then the tempering of tokens, cookie.
Yeah. The second point is actually very important.
Yeah, which one?
The bypassing access control check by modifying the URL. That is a really bad design.
Yes.
Yeah. It means you are trusting the user inputs.
Yes. So we had an argument in the team recently, but sometimes I understand because URL is.
I think it's serious enough that it's fine if you stand your ground on that also.
Yes.
Yeah, that is the metadata manipulation is also pretty bad. Like you cannot just trust a JWT without validating it first.
Yeah,
correct.
Like some I've seen code where they just disregard the signature at the end.
Yeah, don't read it.
There.
Don't try to pass it before we validate it at least .
Yeah.
It's if you have a shortcut, yes, it might be something that you did temporarily during development, but if you forget to patch that in, it's gonna be a hole.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, of course, CORS. CORS, I have seen interesting CORS problem recently. Oh, I think I know what happened with
Cost is an interesting topic because cost is
Yeah.
something that enforced by the browser. So
Yes,
if you do if you do like a curl, it doesn't get affected by cost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you have
So-
your own browser-like thing,
Yeah.
like if you
Browser is enforced by browser. It's an understood standard
Mhm.
that browsers follow.
Yeah.
and server-to-server
Uh,
communication doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Like CORS doesn't have
So-
anything to do with browser.
So like back
server-to-server
then, it
comms.
was back then maybe besides the CSRF and things like that, it's actually sort of related to CSRF as well because previously it was because like let's say if you log into Facebook, I can if without cost, right, I can issue a request because we already have the valid Facebook token. I can request an AJAX call to the Facebook API, but on my website.
Yeah, because
yeah.
you send a cookie on that domain and
Yeah.
like
So
you
it's
read
sort
the
of like
cookie from there.
yeah. So it's sort of like related to CSRF as well.
Correct. So let's go to how to prevent. Chances OWASP have been reliable when it comes to activity advice, except you actually have to implement it. So they don't tell you how, but it's more of a direction. Do it this way.
I would say it's
So-
a good checklist lah. It's a
Yeah,
but
correct.
it's not there is no catch-all for security
Correct.
stuff.
So, for example, this I'm guilty of that, but implement the cost header properly. I need so in this case I have code for that, but I also need to make sure limit the access well. Then
This is case by case. The third point is case by case basis.
yeah, correct. I think that's the point. So we should actually look at the ownership and
I mean,
create, and it's a model that we want to accept in the.
let's say let's say I can only see my record, like right. So when I call the list, let's say the list of my purchase, I've seen mistakes that people made were some of them it's not to make fun of them, is that because we already log in, so the server actually know who we are. We should automatically take that user the user's account and display it instead of there was some I think common mistake that I saw were they trust the input, like let's say user, let's say I put a user /purchase /1.
Yeah.
Then the one, even though I'm 5, the user of one, the records of 1 will be displayed. So for certain things, we actually don't need the external input.
That one though is because so this is an issue with Rails a lot because you interface directly with the database record through the model, and because it's convenient, right? You just say this is the model, like user dot and then whatever attribute, and you just load it directly from there. Whereas if we want to go strictly with ownership, you have to go through like a policy object that always checks whether the current user that's logged in has access to this particular models. And that, at least in the beginning of a greenfield project, that can be a bit inconvenient. Then again, after your project has grown, it's even more of a problem to go back and refactor all of this to start putting in those policy stuff. So, and the problem is like people just want things working immediately and having security as a second class citizen. And I think that's the point of this, right? Like think
I think
about
you
security
made a
from
point.
the beginning.
You made a great point when the project grew bigger. It's we always say like we're gonna go back to it, but as it grows, we're gonna just it's gonna.
No, when the project grew bigger, the person left the company after 2 years.
Yes.
That is the problem of all of these job hoppers, that they always start and they never learn about these things. Why security is such an important thing and why they don't think about it in the beginning is because they never get to receive the consequences. They never get to experience the consequences of their actions. So that is the downside of jumping around companies a lot. And then they just like say, okay, why
I would
didn't
say
you do
that's
this in
the
first
same
place?
as a freelancer. It's actually not to blame freelancer, but it's not also not their job to think too far ahead.
Correct.
for some of them. Yeah, but for it's one of the problem that I witnessed as well.
Correct. So domain models, again, something we have to design from the beginning. This one is standard. Nowadays, we don't do this often anymore. But don't expose your S3, please. Your S3, be careful about your S3. But if you have your own server, just don't do this kind of thing. Use hosted kit service or whatnot. So just be careful about who you're exposing this to. Log access control failure. This one is compulsory. I do that. I'm proud of it in my recent code. Even though this is one of the most minimum thing you can do. Also, rate limit. Your cloud provider already provide that actually, so start using that. Your web server can do that, for goodness sake, right? Your web server can do that. So I start doing that. This one I did something very stupid recently about trying to stop people doing enumeration attack. But yeah, the best way is to use rate limit and be careful about voila. So then JWT token should be short-lived. So don't make it 2 hours. Make it like what's your favorite type?
No. As in short-lived is do not use it like cookie.
Yeah, correct.
Like every time they request, they need to send us a token. I don't care who you are. That's why it's called stateless.
Correct.
It's almost like every time there's a request, it's like you're logging in again. Like basically provide your identity every time you access this resource.
If it's if with it requires some work, but via a middleware, it's not that kind of big deal.
Yeah, correct. So just be careful about this.
I feel that's actually like a good, like it seems to be quite. So this is the same thing as cookies, right? Like where the session is like agreed upon by the two parties, but every time you connect to the application, because HTTP is a stateless protocol, you have to send the identifier. So it's just the same thing, except that it's a bit more how you call it.
Depends how the session is implemented. Often how we do it with cookie is that the server that maintains the state. The cookie is just the ID that points to the internal state.
Correct.
Which is usually more secure because the server, like you cannot change stuff.
Don't trust what don't trust the stuff from the user.
Don't trust it. So so this is like this is standard thing. Just validate your input. This is the reason why I'm using my username in Slack because it's Bobby table. I should share the comment later. So be careful about what you pass to the production user.
This is probably one of the best reasons why you should use an ORM is just to get rid of all of these things. I mean, it sometimes ORMs can be inefficient, and there is always like it's like writing Python in assembly or C. Like Python would be more efficient for developers, but if you need the performance, you write in C or in assembly. But it's the same thing here. If you need the database performance, you write it on SQL. But most of the time, you just leave the safety to the ORM because people have like figured it out.
Even writing raw is that there's when you try to execute it, there are some mechanisms. It's actually not enforcement, but there are already mechanism for you to substitute parameter instead of we do a manual substitution.
String interpolation.
So in this case, it's not about query. It's less about query. It's more about validate the access. So in this case, for example, a silly model, right? We have a book. It's a book lending page. So the book should have an owner and lender. So that only owner can see all their book. But bad example. Let's say you had a book. Let's say you had I'm thinking. Let's say you have something that belongs to an owner in your data model. Then you should always query with the owner that you fetch from a session, so that unless you explicitly you have special condition, then you have to check condition. Otherwise, then make sure that only owner can access the object in the database. So this is more of that. Because,
Well, this is more about not trusting the user of like.
So you have to
basically
double
just-
check.
Yeah, putting the actual filter on the URL.
Yeah. So in this, don't do this. Don't do this. Always have extra check before you let user access the object. Right. That's the whole point of this thing. Right?
It's again, yeah, it's the same. It's in the same like article. It's the ownership thing.
Yeah.
Like you're not the current user that's currently logged in. And again, if you are sending the session key or the token or JWT or whatever, then you know that these particular, like you are already sending that data, and you don't have to send the account information because you are actually sending the correct, untampered, or at least you can verify if it was tampered, account information through the JWT token.
Correct. So yes. So let's move on to the next one because I think this is a multi-part episode, but let's move on. So this is actually called cryptographic failure. So generally it's that when you don't use HTTPS, oh my god, you don't use HTTPS, that's why, right? You don't set up your HTTP redirection properly. So for example, you just migrated to
Do not homebrew your own encryption.
Yes. A password being used as cryptographic key. No, don't do that, please.
Don't use what is this? Yep.
No, I'll let you finish first.
No, I forgot the one that replaced SHA-1. M something. Don't use that.
Yeah,
because
MD5?
rainbow tables have been made. Yeah, MD5. Don't use MD5, especially unsalted MD5.
MD5 is so and this MD5 is so breakable.
Yeah, it's already breakable. Like it's
I actually
brute-forced.
still, unfortunately, I'm gonna tell you something is that I've still see MD5 encryption being used in production.
Yeah, they think that, for example, that because we hashed our passwords, nobody can guess those passwords. But if you're,
I think
the
passwords
hashing,
should always sorted for that reason alone, for the rainbow table alone.
Yeah. And
And
if the hash that you use is MD5 and it's not salted even, then it's like your passwords are in plain text. And I've seen like some leaks where they say the hashing algorithm is MD5. Okay, change your password because this has been cracked already.
Yep. And also I've seen a pretty sensitive. I mean, a company with pretty sensitive data that they create and implement their own cookie system that is not secure.
Correct. So I know.
You know what happened? I can tell you more details. That they literally the cookie, right, is literally a plain text which contains it's actually literally user equal to user that you log into, and password equal to the password.
This is something they create from the
that's the cookie. I'm curious. It's just basically a ticking time bomb to them, and their nature of business is actually something really serious as well.
Yeah.
So it's just matter of it's actually waiting to explode lah. Actually.
Correct. So
that would be dangerous in the sense that if they're even using bare metal hosting, for example, and someone throws away the hard drive, with the logs. Right? No, even if it's HTTPS, the problem is because it's on the cookie.
Yeah,
it's actually transmitted and probably.
It's easier. I mean, when it's not even on HTTPS, it's just plain text.
Yeah, correct.
And it's going to be on your logs, on your server logs, in plain text. And someone throws away that hard drive without properly clearing it. Now you have like all of that data. So
correct. So, how to prevent that? Classify your data. In this case,
I think this is something that is it's a very serious topic.
Yeah.
That we seem to not a very top it's a very serious one, but not a much discussed topic. Or
Correct, it is.
yeah,
So
on
even though we
data
sometimes
security.
with this PCI, but sometimes occasionally they have some useful idea for us to do work when it comes to data security. So
Yeah.
classify your data by need. Don't store sensitive data all the time. So
If you
for
don't need the
example,
data, don't ask for it,
correct,
especially
correct,
from the end user.
correct.
Don't-
And
I mean,
if,
there's a
if
lot.
you want to get it anyway, don't store it yourself. Ask someone else
Yeah.
to store it for you, and then blame them
Yeah,
if you have
correct.
a leak.
Yes.
and also
Uh,
like if you don't really need to know, like especially like let's say you just want to know the age, right? You don't have to know about where the person stays.
yeah, correct. So
Yeah.
be a bit mindful about what you need. You don't actually need
It's the
everything.
responsibility.
Often those
for
things
the-
are just a waste of space and waste.
Yeah.
And when your dev check what is certain field used for and it's not used at all, you need to drop nuts. I know a guy.
the best data to secure is when you don't have the data.
Correct. Use strong tools when you will need to do hashing, encryption, and whatnot. Use proper cryptographic generator. You have that on your operating system. Use that.
Very important.
Correct.
Know how I mean your PING is powered by,
Yeah, correct.
especially on these things.
And don't use duplicated cryptographic functions. So the scenario here is that SQL injection getting raw data, TLS is known than password. So I'm going to move on because it's
Yep. This
10
is
40s. So
this is
the next
something I
one,
think should be familiar with everyone.
correct. So this is the reason of my nickname. The nickname on Slack. What's my nickname on Slack again? Drop table
Swimming.
users.
Bobby.
Yeah.
It's not just for SQL. It's just that do
Yeah.
not compose. Like let's say if you're later have to do a syscall, you do not compose your command your command that way.
Correct. Be very careful about
It's
your
very
SQL
convenient. Like, oh, I came up with a function that allows any person to do anything. Like, yeah, they won't be limiting themselves to just like LS. They're gonna try to
Correct.
do like sudo and stuff.
And
also
here's
it's-
another here's
Uh-huh.
another thing. So aside from the ORM, is another thing that, again, I'm talking about Rails here. A lot of things have been done in security with regard to like frameworks. In Rails, for
Yeah.
example, you have like filtered parameters. So you actually have to specifically require certain things so that you can't easily inject stuff from the URL and then you parse it and
Yes.
etc. So it's easier like that, and which is why you should try to use at least the best practice. If you're using the framework, use the best practices that the framework has, because I've seen code where like the project just sidesteps the filtered parameters just because it's inconvenient, because it is inconvenient in a sense that you have to know what to expect. You can't just
Correct.
jam parameters into the URL and then just be able to
Yeah.
access it from your controllers, which is convenient again, but it's not safe. So you have to actually filter them and then ask them, okay, this is permitted, right? And then some projects will
I've
just
seen
go
that.
around it.
I've seen
So-
that it's not to blame them. I've seen that they thought that they created a really convenient
Mhm.
system,
Yes.
but
It
it's
sidesteps
so
the
dangerous.
security thing. So
I don't think it's sidestep. They didn't see it. Like it's
Mm.
basically something they do syscall. Like they don't see it.
yeah. Mhm.
So for this one is don't do stupid shit like having
Have an
sysdot.
extra pair of eyeballs should be helpful.
Yeah, don't run execute please, and don't run what's the parse? No.
Execute is fine. If you
No,
know what you're
It's not
doing.
execute. It's the
Put it this way, you can do execute, but let's say I'm gonna read a file on the file system, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like we need to make sure that when when the final we don't concatenate them like so that they cannot do file traversal outside of what they should access.
Yeah.
And also like especially the worst one that you can do is do not allow the end user to key in the command as well. Like if it's gonna be like cat, let's say I'm doing a web API that actually just cat a file on the system.
Yeah.
Like do not allow them to key like cat something.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
at least the file name first. Then the next thing we need to
Yeah.
secure is that they can only access. You need to strip off all the other path that is unrelated and make sure it's at the local at the path that you permit them to.
Yeah, so this is if you do something like OS.command, which is
Path traversal is one of the overlooked path.
So for example, with your example, right, with the cat, and then the user supplies a file name. Don't just put the file name as part of the command.
No,
because even if they don't get to type cat, if they type the file name, then if you just put it there, then you can just say //
or
group or something, something like that, right? You actually have to check first. Well, one thing you check if the file is there, and the second is because you can always like put backticks as well, and then actually execute something on the kernel. The second thing is like you have to check. You have to like put a bastion of like an area of your file system where it's the only place that you can actually access files.
Yes.
And if not, if it's not there, then don't go out of it.
Slightly less of issue if you use Docker in theory, but yes. And also, if you're on Python-based framework, use a serializer to make a live so that you can control a parameter.
Well, even if you're using Docker, like the configuration, like if it's on a text file on your Docker file, then it's still accessible, or at least like it's there's a lot of things they can mitigate some of them, but it's still like the best way is to just not trust any user input.
I think there are libraries for most of the languages. There are libraries already for doing most things securely.
Correct. So I would also suggest if you're on Python, use a serializer function. Not
like the path flip.
Use
and there's a file path flip as well.
Correct. So and if you receive parameters and data, there's it's called a serializer. What happened is they actually validate your function to make sure that you have all the keys and drop those extra things.
Also limit where you can access that.
Correct. So use that so to limit the type of thing you can come in. Then use your ORMs. It's generally pretty good. If you do, there's only very few times you need special query that require user input. Very few. Even that, the Python on Python itself, the DB interfaces already had this kind of some protection for it already. So it's not too bad, but just be extremely careful about it. Please don't do something stupid as this thing. So I think we're going to last one, then we go to next week. So this is the last one. So the last one is called insecure design.
It's quite vague.
Yeah.
I would call
basically what we covered were insecure design.
Correct. But in this case, it's also cover things like application level design, like it's access and all that. It's everything together. So, they have that. Interesting. So essentially, I suspect that this is actually written by security guys, so they had a security person hired inside the company. But I think this one primarily
this is very much
something that you have to plan from the early on in your application. That's the whole point. So that so for example, things that I cover a bit just now, that's not directly relevant. So for example, a user, an owner, only the owner can see their item. Only the owner can see the item. Unless the admin, then you need to.
And then don't design a system that they still try to pass what they try to access, right?
Correct. So, So, for example, one of the things that you can add design is never use os.command. So that's an example, right?
I don't know. I
Why the
mean,
heck?
case to case basis. Sometimes you'd want to.
Then you have to design your way out to be very
Yeah.
careful about it. That's the point.
Probably the difference is that if you do scripting, it's probably fine. But if you
No,
really
like you might have a
depends.
vendor where the only like we had this, for example, in one of the
Yeah.
third-party APIs that we are integrating. Like one of their APIs actually is a binary that you
Yeah.
have to talk to on your server.
Yeah.
So there's no other way. You have to go to like I mean you can have a new server, for example, that all it does is
Correct.
talk to this binary and then come back. Like it's the same thing, right? You have to use
Yeah.
OS execute
Then you have to
OS
design.
commands on the thing.
Then you have to design your process to make calling that command safe. Does that make
And
sense?
I want to add something that is easily done by everyone without having to
Yeah.
do much. Is that we often we are in tech, so we have the tools that we use, right? Like, let's say or framework, like let's say Ruby and Rails. So it's just by reading the released patch notes of Ruby and Rails, we can learn a lot of this on like what sort of security things that they fix and some of the best practices. That's how I pick up all these things over the years.
Yeah, Django had a very comprehensive one as well, because the framework is pretty big. So
Take some time to go through them and then
which is
helpful.
why usually just trust the frameworks. Don't roll your own stuff unless you know what you're doing.
And learn from them as well.
Yeah, but really sometimes they are very tightly knit, so you can't.
No, I mean
use
as in
something
some
else.
start by learning it from the framework first. I mean
Yeah.
I mean the lowest effort way to start is that trust that and read. There gonna be some, even in the documentation they're gonna mention like why this is like this.
Yeah. So just know that you have to do more work and don't ignore the problem. So yeah, it's about design that
It's not like we're gonna come up with perfect secure design. It's just that some of the tips are hopefully for those that are new to this.
Correct. I mean, I don't like framework in the way that there is real good reason for it. So, for example, again, Django, for a while, it doesn't work well with MongoDB. So, for example,
I'm mainly on Go, so Go is like you guys already see me say this.
Yeah, correct. So
it's the standard library is good enough.
Yeah. So recently, I learned Go. I built my application in Go. I go a bit raw, to be honest. I go a bit
Go.
raw. So,
yep.
So
we need to wrap up.
Yep. So either way, think about your design, think about your access. I know
We actually
you guys
have
don't
some-
think about access so much, and also
let's
this is
go
not
through some-
application specific.
Let's go through some of the
this-
comments first.
Yep. Go on.
Yep.
Go through command.
Okay.
Extreme option.
Hussein says thank you for
We say
major
extreme
AI mentioning.
option.
Yep.
Very important. If you don't want people to invade your site,
What
it's
is
actually
this?
enforced by the browser.
Yeah. I know
Yeah.
extreme options. I use
Yeah.
that. What is the
Don't if people gonna do it, they can do it like you are gonna write and reverse proxy the proxy you, right? It's you cannot do anything.
DBWA.co.uk.
Just like robot text, right?
And you'd think that it's difficult to do that reverse proxy thing, but there's a lot of VPN software that does exactly what it's doing.
Yeah.
So
if you want, if you guys are
free
interested,
VPN
I can
stuff.
write you one that I did a lot of times.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to do actually.
It's very easy to do.
DBWA.
DW.
Yeah, what is this GUI? What did you just
okay.
ask us to run?
This is an application for you to. This is actually an application for you to learn to do security, because this is intentionally made.
Oh, then variable web pro. Yeah. Oh, I remember I used it. like many years ago. Like
Yes,
15 some website it is like around 15 years ago, I think.
correct.
Mhm.
Is it still maintained? This is a very old
No, I'm
program. I
not sure
mean,
if
it's
it's the
using
same,
SSL.
but I remember something along the line of that lah.
Yeah, it's 9 years ago actually, but there's update as of 3 months. So if you want to practice, there's that. So highly recommend it. DVWA,
Yeah.
then vulnerable web application. Uh, so to wrap this out, think about your application. Think about who can access it and all that. Don't just who can use it. Don't just think about feature or what exists, but think about who can use it and how to limit who can use what.
Yeah, think
And
about the
whatnot.
serious thing lah.
Yeah,
Correct.
and just read these articles, all of these how to prevents, set them
Yeah.
as an actual checklist, give them to your QA or to your project
Yeah.
manager, and then ask
Yeah.
them to like actually look for them on product
Yes.
on
Correct.
feature acceptance.
Correct.
I mean, it
So next week,
especially
we're going to
on projects that need a lot of this is a balancing act, like we mentioned. Sometimes you want a feature out, and then
Yeah.
security just gets booted out of the equation or deprioritized. But as you can see from here, there's a lot of issues, and
Yeah.
actually going back and to refactor your security so that it becomes better can sometimes
Yeah.
even take even more time than if you just started out worked in security from the very beginning.
Correct. So I think that's about it. Next week we're going to cover the next 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, maybe we're going to do another 2 part. With that said, thanks for listening. I hope this is useful. Yeah, and take care of yourself. The
Yep,
pandemic
see you
is still
guys
over.
next week.
Okay,
Yes.
bye.
So welcome to N podcast.